Well, I just want to say I love this approach to connecting in with cosmic psychic roots. And I have some sort of weird goosebumply feeling, pyro erection going on, that it did lead you somewhere solid. And I just want to say I have a huge amount of Scottish heritage that goes back, way back. So there's a connection there. And then in these same colonies as well, people that came from those lands. So I'm already weaving around your story.
and and I appreciate the feedback as to the flexibility an individual can take in terms of, like, their spiritual lineage. One of the compasses I use to navigate experiential reality is the significance of LARPing, where LARPing means live action role playing. And it's the ability, and what I mean by that, I don't necessarily mean like I go to Renaissance fairs and I dress up like a the Middle Ages type of, or I guess Renaissance era sort of person, but like very consciously and willfully trying on roles and losing yourself in the role, but never truly identifying with the role. That's what I mean by LARPing. Like, there's something magical that happens when a human being does that. Like, the outer experience seems to match the role which you can take on. So I took on this role. I took on this role of Johnny Wann, or the lineage of the King of the Gypsies. And in fact, someone who listened to my work, he was an illustrator. He drew this image of this historical character. It looks like, like maybe from like the 1700s, standing on a raft in a river with like a coonskin cap on his head and a cat on his raft. And I just love that image. Ooh. Like, it really like embodied what I was playing with. And I turned that image, I mean, it's funny because I'm sitting in my truck right now, and I turned that image into like a 12-inch circular magnetic decal, which you could put on your truck. I drive like a 30-year-old white pickup truck, and I've got this Susquehanna Alchemy decal on each of my doors, and it's got that image on it. And at first glance, when you see the truck, it looks kind of like a municipal truck, like a county truck driving around. And because of the decal and the age and the style of the truck, and when you look closely, it's just kind of like weird and funny. And I always laugh at the people who have the courage to come up and ask me, like, what exactly does that mean? So like, that's all part of like the experience, part of like the gonzo synchro-mystic conspiratorial approach to life. So now I want to go and begin to take a pivot. So Johnny Wann, it was like, I didn't take it seriously in terms of like, I don't know if I'm actually from that lineage, but I took it seriously in the fact that I'm going to go and embody what it would be like to be in that lineage in modern times. Now going back, this is probably like 2020, I suppose. This is gonna, we got a couple of steps to make. So it begins with a listener. Actually, it was more than a listener. It was a friend who I have a very complex relationship with. He sends me a message, an email, right after I got the strangest package in the mail from someone who at least presented as if this is a package coming straight from the Freemasons. It was Freemason return address. It was a Freemasonic folder, and inside that folder was a poem written about me, the Susquehanna Gypsy. And on that same day, this person who sent me this email had no idea I just received this thing in the mail where I'm just like, what is this? And he says, this is who your great-grandfather is. And I'm like, how do you know who my great-grandfather is? Like, I did research. You don't know who my great-grandfather is. Like, I kind of had like this chip on my shoulder. But I went and I looked, and I went through the genealogy, a couple different genealogy a couple different genealogy websites, and I was able to confirm, like putting like different genealogy websites and what I know about my family, put all these pieces together, and I was able to go and see like the guy was right. That really was my great grandfather. And I was able to go even further back in this Wann family line. And the very first Wann that came to the New World, according to at least genealogy websites, was a guy by the name of Johann Wann, and he came from Germany. So now it's like it's taken this like this turn where now I have something a little bit more concrete in material reality. So now we're going to jump forward a handful of years from that moment. And because I didn't really go anywhere with that, I just had that in my back pocket. Like I knew that piece of information. I'm still playing around with the King of the Gypsies motif because they're not necessarily mutually exclusive, but I'm kind of put all of that on the back burner. So 2 years later, almost on the same day, like it was in December when I received that package and I received that email. It was December of my 50th birthday, and within a 24-hour period, I received an actual email invitation from a 33-degree Freemason to present my work at their quarterly meeting. I received it was my 50th birthday, and there was a solar eclipse. So a solar eclipse happened on my 50th birthday, and I was on the receiving end of a surprise party. Only time I've ever been on the receiving end of a surprise party, and I was 100% surprised by it. Like I did not see it coming. Like some people, I suppose, like know it's coming. So this thing happens. This thing happens. Like this event. That day with the invitation to the Freemasons, the surprise party, the 50th anniversary, the solar eclipse, whatever that may mean. And then about the day after, which was 57 days later, the day after I gave that presentation to the Freemasons, my entire personal life just like imploded. Like I was in a long-standing relationship and it ended very, very quickly. And I found myself in this kind of like free fall in life, like all of the sort of stabilities of home life and those sort of things that was pulled out from underneath me. And I landed in a fine place, but now I'm kind of like floating, like it was a major like upheaval in my life. And that was in February 2022, and a whole bunch of things happened, and there's a whole bunch of stories we could talk about that. But I'm going to jump forward another 8 months. I have a really kind of what felt like a destined meeting with someone, with a woman, and that was in August. And then that December, we move into a farmhouse together, and it came about, this farmhouse, in a very serendipitous way, and it happened very quickly. Like, you know, my life is still in this like free flow, which began in February, and we move into this farmhouse. It was in a part of Pennsylvania, and I wasn't really familiar with that part of Pennsylvania, but I knew it was in the general area of where I found the first Wann who arrived in the New World, that Johann Wann, who I just made reference to. And so I went and I found all of my notes, and I pulled all of the research, which I did a handful of years earlier on this Johann Wann. And I go and I see like the piece of information, or the most telling piece of information, which was found on the Ancestral websites, was a wedding date. So it was my grandfather to the 8th power, and when he wed my grandmother from the 8th power, and it says where they got married. It listed the church, and this church is literally 5 miles from this farmhouse which we just moved into. And this farmhouse was built in the 1700s, and this farmhouse was standing at the time of that wedding. And to make matters even more interesting, this is what's so freaking wild, is we signed a short-term lease for that farmhouse. It was like a 3-month lease or maybe a 6-month lease. I don't recall what it was. But the date of that was December 27th. This is so freaking wild. December 27th was the date of the wedding, which took place 5 miles away of Johann Wann. And it was exactly 256 years apart. The reason why 256 is significant is because if you're familiar with what's known as, what is it called? What's the fourth dimensional cube called? A tesseract.
Yes.
If you're familiar with a tesseract math, 256 is a tesseract number. It's 4 squared, which is 16, and then 16 squared. So this like seemingly like alignment through space and time is lined up with tesseract math, which according to like the theoretical physicists who play in time bending, like the tesseract is the mechanism in which time is bent. So for whatever that means, for what all, this was the long story I wanted to tell you with John.